From the outside, my life seemed like the American dream personified. My name is Jack, and I've lived in a quaint, picturesque suburb of Chicago for the better part of my 40s. I married the love of my life, Sarah, straight out of college, and together, we built a life that was the envy of our friends and family. Two beautiful kids, a dog that never barked at the mailman, and a home that was our sanctuary. I worked as an engineer, and Sarah was a high school teacher, shaping the minds of future generations. Our life was routine, comfortable, and, I thought, filled with mutual love and respect. Our story begins on an ordinary Thursday afternoon, the kind where you're counting the minutes until the weekend. I was at work, troubleshooting a particularly stubborn design flaw in a new project, when I realized I had left some important documents at home. Planning to surprise my family with an early return, I envisioned an evening of laughter and togetherness, perhaps even suggesting we dine at our favorite Italian spot downtown. Little did I know, that day would mark the beginning of the end of the life I knew. The universe has its own twisted sense of irony, I've come to realize. As I approached our home, the first anomaly was Sarah's car parked outside, which was unusual for this hour. She should have been at school, leading her after-hours book club. Curiosity piqued, I quietly let myself in, thinking maybe she'd come home feeling unwell. The sounds that greeted me were not those of sickness, but of laughter and conversation, not just hers, but a man's as well. My heart sank into an abyss as I crept closer to the living room, the laughter growing louder, more intimate. Through the ajar door, I saw them, Sarah and a man I recognized as her coworker, Michael, entangled in an embrace that left no room for misunderstanding. The shock of it rooted me to the spot, a silent spectator to my own life unraveling. I watched, as if from outside my body, as they shared a kiss that seemed to last an eternity. When they finally parted, laughing about something I couldn't hear, a part of me shattered. I retreated as quietly as I had arrived, the documents forgotten. The drive back to my office was a blur, my mind a tempest of hurt, betrayal, and disbelief. How long had this been going on? Were our friends, our family, aware? The foundation of my life felt as if it had crumbled beneath my feet. In the solitude of my office, surrounded by the mundane trappings of my profession, the full weight of what I had witnessed crashed over me. Betrayal, a concept I had understood only in abstraction, became my visceral reality. My initial shock gave way to a profound sense of loss, not just of the marriage I thought I had, but of the future we had envisioned together. This wasn't merely an affair. It was the demolition of trust and the intimacy we had nurtured over 2 decades. Anger soon followed, a burning, relentless fury that seemed to consume my rationality. I wanted to confront Sarah, to demand explanations, to understand why. Yet, beneath the anger and hurt, a cold, calculating part of me whispered of retribution. This betrayal demanded justice, a balancing of the scales. The idea of revenge, so foreign and yet so fitting, began to take root. I envisioned not just confronting Sarah, but dismantling the facade of her affair with Michael as meticulously as I planned my engineering projects. But with the anger and the plotting came an overwhelming sadness. Memories of our life together, vacations, birthdays, quiet nights played in my mind like a movie, each happy moment now tinged with the question of when the lies had begun. I'd mourned for our children, for the innocence they would lose in the fallout of this revelation. The complexity of my emotions rendered me immobile for hours, a statue amidst the storm of my shattered life. As the initial shock subsided, my thoughts turned methodically towards revenge. It wasn't enough to confront Sarah and Michael. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too raw. I needed them to feel a fraction of the pain they had inflicted upon me, to understand the depth of their betrayal. My plan needed to be precise, calculated to inflict maximum impact without causing irreparable harm to my children or our families. Gathering evidence. The first step was to gather incontrovertible evidence of the affair. This would serve a dual purpose: to confront Sarah and Michael with undeniable facts, and, if necessary, to protect my interests in any potential legal proceedings. I began documenting everything: texts, emails, and photographs, using a few discreet surveillance techniques. Exposing the affair. I wanted their affair exposed, not out of spite, but as a means of reclaiming my dignity. The plan was to reveal their betrayal to those they held dear, ensuring that the facade of respectability they maintained was shattered. However, I resolved to keep this revelation as controlled and respectful as possible, to prevent unnecessary collateral damage. Confrontation. The climax of my revenge would be a direct confrontation, but not the explosive, anger-fueled showdown one might expect. I envisioned a calm, calculated meeting where I would lay out the evidence of their betrayal, making clear the depth of their deception and its impact on me and our family. Legal and financial precautions. Anticipating the potential fallout, I began to take legal and financial precautions to protect myself and ensure that the children's needs would be met, regardless of how our marital dynamics evolved. Personal closure. Lastly, I plan to seek personal closure not through their apology or regret, but by allowing myself to express the full extent of my hurt and betrayal, and then moving on. This would be the final step in my revenge, not just moving past the betrayal, but thriving in spite of it. This plan was my lifeline in the swirling chaos of betrayal, a path forward through the pain. It provided a sense of control, a way to channel my anger and hurt into action. Yet, as I plotted each step, I couldn't shake the lingering question: would revenge truly heal my wounds, or would it simply spread the poison of bitterness and anger? The meticulous collection of evidence was both cathartic and excruciating. Through discreet monitoring and a few strategically placed cameras, I amassed a trove of undeniable proof of the affair. The process was methodical, almost clinical, but each piece of evidence was a dagger to my heart. Yet this pain was necessary. It fueled my resolve to see this through. The decision to expose the affair was not taken lightly. I chose a moment when it would cause the least disruption to our children's lives, opting for a private disclosure to family and close friends before anything became public. The reactions were a mix of shock, disbelief, and for some, a painful acknowledgement of suspicions long ignored. The fallout was immediate and intense, but controlled, a testament to the care with which I had chosen to wield this truth. The confrontation was the apex of my plan, a moment I had both dreaded and yearned for. I invited Sarah to a neutral location, a quiet park where we had once shared happier times. There, with the evidence in hand, I laid bare the extent of her betrayal. Her reaction was a complex tapestry of denial, anger, and finally, tearful admissions. The pain in her eyes mirrored my own, a reminder of the love that had once bound us. Michael, confronted separately, offered little in the way of excuses, his arrogance deflated in the face of undeniable evidence. I had taken steps to protect my financial interests and secure my children's futures. This foresight proved invaluable, allowing me to navigate the ensuing divorce proceedings from a position of strength. The legal battle was arduous but fair, with the evidence of Sarah's infidelity tipping the scales in my favor regarding custody and financial settlements. The final step of my revenge, seeking personal closure, was the most challenging. Facing Sarah and Michael, expressing the depth of my hurt and betrayal, and then choosing to let go of the anger was a Herculean task. It was in this moment of release, however, that I found the first glimmer of true healing. The path forward was uncertain, marred by the scars of betrayal, but also open to new possibilities of growth and happiness. In executing my plan, I had sought to balance the scales, to find justice in the wake of betrayal. Yet the journey taught me that revenge, while momentarily satisfying, is a hollow victory. The real triumph lay in reclaiming my dignity, in the strength to move forward, not bound by bitterness, but propelled by the hope of a better tomorrow. The dust has settled in the months following the execution of my plan, and life has found a new rhythm, a new normal. The aftermath of revenge, of the confrontation and the revelations, was a landscape marked by the debris of a life I once knew. Yet within this devastation, there emerged a surprising resilience, a testament to the human capacity for healing and growth. In the quiet moments of reflection, I've come to understand that my quest for revenge, while driven by a desire for justice, was also a journey of self-discovery. The man who meticulously plotted retribution is not the same man who stands here today. This ordeal has forced me to confront the darkest parts of myself, to question the nature of forgiveness and the power of letting go. I've learned that the strength to forgive is not a surrender, but a victory, a reclaiming of the power that bitterness and anger had over me. Pain, I've discovered, is a potent teacher. It has taught me empathy for myself and others, and the understanding that we are all flawed, capable of causing and enduring hurt. Yet, it is in this shared vulnerability that we find our common humanity, the bridge that connects our isolated experiences. My journey through betrayal and revenge has been a painful crucible, one that has tempered my spirit, softening it with compassion while strengthening it with wisdom. Moving forward means acknowledging the scars of the past without letting them dictate the future. It means embracing the possibility of new beginnings, of building a life not in the shadow of betrayal, but in the light of new understanding and self-awareness. My relationship with my children has deepened, our bonds forged stronger in the fires of adversity. We have learned, together, that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can choose our responses, our paths through the pain. As I stand on the precipice of this new chapter, the view is one of cautious optimism. The road to healing is long and often winding, with its share of setbacks and victories. Yet, I walk it with a lighter heart, one freed from the chains of anger and vindictiveness. In seeking revenge, I found not the satisfaction of retribution, but the far greater reward of personal growth and the promise of a future unburdened by the past. The narrative of my life, once defined by betrayal and revenge, is now a story of healing and hope. It is a reminder that out of the depths of despair can rise a new dawn, that even the most profound wounds can be the birthplace of strength and wisdom. This, I believe, is the true legacy of my journey, a legacy not of pain, but of resilience and rebirth. As the narrative of my life continues to unfold, the chapters that follow the tumult of betrayal and revenge are colored with the hues of introspection and renewal. The journey from the depths of despair to the heights of personal growth has been arduous, yet profoundly rewarding. My story, once marred by the scars of infidelity, has transformed into a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for forgiveness. The true heroes of this narrative are my children, who have shown remarkable resilience and adaptability in the face of our family's upheaval. Their strength has been a beacon for me, guiding me through the darkest nights towards a dawn filled with hope. We have navigated the stormy waters of divorce and betrayal together, emerging on the other side not unscathed, but undeniably stronger. Our bonds, tested by adversity, have proven unbreakable, and in them, I find the foundation for our new beginning. The prospect of new relationships was once a concept as foreign to me as the betrayal that precipitated my journey. Yet, as I've healed, I've opened myself to the possibility of love and connection once more. These new relationships, built on the bedrock of mutual respect and understanding, are the tentative steps towards a future where trust is possible, and love is not overshadowed by the specter of past betrayals. In reflecting upon the tumultuous events that reshaped my existence, I am struck by the transformative power of forgiveness. Forgiving Sarah and Michael was not an exoneration of their actions, but a liberation from the chains of bitterness that bound me. It was a gift to myself, a declaration that their betrayal would not define the remainder of my days. My outlook on life, once clouded by cynicism and hurt, has brightened with the realization that while I cannot control the actions of others, I can choose my path forward. I choose a path marked by hope, resilience, and an openness to the beauty that life offers, even in the aftermath of pain. The final chapter of this story is yet to be written, but it is one I approach with a sense of peace and optimism. The narrative of betrayal and revenge has given way to a story of healing and growth, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there is the potential for light. My journey from the depths of despair to the heights of personal enlightenment is a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a spirit that, despite all odds, seeks the light of a new dawn. This is not the end of my story, but the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of new beginnings. The tranquility of our suburban life, with its meticulously trimmed hedges and the soft glow of dusk settling over well-kept gardens, was a facade. Beneath it, in the silence of our home, lay the restless stirrings of a happiness that had begun to wither. Unnoticed at first, like the subtle change of seasons. My name is James, and for years I lived within the comforting illusion of a perfect life. Sarah, my wife, was the center of my universe. Our meeting in college had seemed like fate, a stroke of luck that I had done nothing to deserve, but everything to cherish. She was vibrant, passionate, and her laughter could light up the darkest days. We built a life together, piece by piece, a testament to what we believed was an unbreakable bond. But as our 5th anniversary approached, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Sarah had become distant, her once bright eyes often clouded with something I couldn't decipher. She attributed her late nights and early departures to the demands of her new job, a promotion she had worked tirelessly to achieve. I wanted to believe her, to support her ambitions as she had always supported mine. Yet the seed of doubt, once planted, refused to be ignored. It's strange how life's most turbulent storms often begin with a whisper, a faint hint that all is not as it seems. For me, that whisper came on an ordinary Thursday evening, shrouded in the ordinariness of our lives. Sarah had texted to say she'd be working late again. The house, once a haven of warmth and laughter, echoed with a silence that weighed heavily on my heart. Driven by a need to feel closer to her, I decided to organize her home office. It was an intimate space filled with the trinkets and mementos of our life together. As I sorted through papers and files, hoping to bring some order to the chaos, I stumbled upon something that would irrevocably alter the course of our lives. A series of emails that were not meant for my eyes. The words on the screen blurred as a myriad of emotions surged through me. Betrayal, disbelief, anger, a cocktail of feelings that left me reeling. The foundation of trust upon which our marriage was built crumbled beneath the weight of her words to someone else. In that moment, I realized the extent of my naivety, the depth of my ignorance. The life I thought we were building together was a facade, a castle of sand washed away by the relentless tide of truth. As I sat amidst the debris of my shattered illusions, a resolve began to take shape within the chaos of my thoughts. I needed to confront Sarah, to seek the truth directly from her. But more than that, I needed to confront myself, to understand the role I had played in the unraveling of our marriage. It was a journey I knew would be fraught with pain and uncertainty, but one I was determined to undertake. In the days that followed, as I navigated the stormy waters of betrayal and heartache, I discovered that the path to healing and forgiveness was not a journey I could undertake alone. It required courage, introspection, and an unwavering resolve to face the unknown. The discovery of those emails was like a cold hand gripping my heart, each word a betrayal that unraveled the fabric of our shared history. My initial instinct was denial. Sarah, the woman who had been my anchor, whose integrity I had never had reason to doubt, couldn't be the author of these intimate promises and secret rendezvous. Yet the evidence was irrefutable, glaring at me from the glow of the computer screen. In the days that followed, I was a man possessed, driven by a singular need to uncover the full extent of the deceit. My world had narrowed to a pinpoint, focused entirely on the betrayal that had infiltrated our marriage. I monitored Sarah's calls, her messages, her social media, and her movements with a meticulousness that would have impressed a detective. Each new piece of evidence was a lash, marking my soul with the realization of our crumbling reality. Confronting Sarah was not a matter of if, but when. I needed to gather my thoughts, to approach her not as a wounded animal lashing out in pain, but as a man seeking understanding, perhaps even closure. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, waiting for the right moment, all the while sharing a bed with the person who had become a stranger to me. The confrontation itself was a blur, a cacophony of emotions that ranged from disbelief and anger to a deep, pervasive sadness. Sarah's initial reaction was to deny, but the evidence was too damning, the details too specific. When faced with the irrefutable, she broke down, tears streaming down her face, apologies tumbling from her lips, explanations that sounded hollow even to her own ears. She spoke of loneliness, of feeling disconnected from me, of a void that Alex, the man from the emails, had filled. Hearing her confess, witnessing the vulnerability and the guilt, I felt my anger ebb, replaced by a profound sorrow. The realization that our marriage, once the source of my greatest joy, had deteriorated to this point was a weight I wasn't prepared to bear. In that moment, I understood that the path forward wasn't through accusations or recriminations, but through a painful, possibly cathartic process of introspection and decision making. The aftermath of our confrontation was a period of profound introspection for me. The home we had built together, once a sanctuary, now felt like a mausoleum of our past happiness. I'd moved into the guest room, needing physical space to match the emotional distance that had grown between us. Sarah suggested marriage counseling, a proposition I agreed to, not out of a belief that our marriage could be salvaged, but out of a need to understand how we had arrived at this juncture. Our sessions were emotionally taxing, dredging up feelings I had long buried under the facade of a happy marriage. Yet they were also illuminating, revealing the fissures that had developed between us long before Alex came into the picture. It was a period of mourning for the loss of our marriage, for the person I thought Sarah was, and for the version of myself that had been blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the horizon. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself at a crossroads. The journey through the valley of the shadow of our failed marriage had changed me. I had entered it as a man betrayed, seeking retribution, but emerged with the understanding that forgiveness was not a gift to Sarah, but a salve for my own wounds. The decision to divorce was mutual, born out of a series of frank, sometimes painful conversations about what we wanted from life, and the realization that our paths had irreversibly diverged. In the wake of our divorce, I found myself adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The routines that had once structured my days now seemed meaningless, the future a vast expanse of unknown possibilities. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a seed of hope began to take root. The end of my marriage, while a source of profound grief, also presented an opportunity for renewal, for self-discovery beyond the identity I had forged within the confines of our relationship. My journey towards healing was not linear. There were days when the weight of my broken marriage felt insurmountable, moments when the loneliness crept in like a winter chill. I leaned into these feelings, allowing myself to fully experience the breadth of my emotions without judgment. Therapy became a refuge, a space where I could unravel the complexities of my feelings and begin to understand the patterns that had led us to our final impasse. I rediscovered old passions that had been neglected in the wake of marital responsibilities and career ambitions. Photography, once a beloved hobby, re-emerged as a source of solace and expression. Through the lens of my camera, I began to see the world anew, to find beauty in the mundane, and to appreciate the transient nature of all things. The betrayal I experienced had deeply scarred my ability to trust, not just in romantic relationships, but in all aspects of my life. Trust, I realized, was not a commodity to be freely given, but a fragile gift that needed to be earned and cherished. The process of rebuilding that trust within myself was painstaking. It required a daily commitment to self-reflection, to challenging the insecurities and fears that had been laid bare by the end of my marriage. Love, I learned, was not the all-consuming passion that movies and novels had promised. It was quieter, more resilient, built on a foundation of mutual respect, understanding, and, above all, trust. The love I had for Sarah, though irrevocably altered, remained a testament to our shared history, a chapter in my life that, despite its painful conclusion, had shaped me in indelible ways. As the months passed, the sharp edges of my grief softened, giving way to a cautious optimism. I began to entertain the idea of dating, of opening myself up to the possibility of love once again. It was a daunting prospect, stepping back into the world of romantic relationships after the disillusionment of my divorce. Yet it was also exhilarating, a chance to apply the lessons I had learned about myself, about love, and about the kind of partner I aspired to be. A year after the divorce, my life looks vastly different than I could have imagined. I've moved to a new city, a decision driven by a desire for a fresh start, away from the memories that haunted our old home. My photography has taken on a life of its own, culminating in a solo exhibition at a local gallery, a dream I had long deferred. In love, I've found a cautious but hopeful path forward. I'm dating someone, a relationship that is built on the slow accumulation of trust, on open communication, and on the understanding that we are both works in progress. It's not without its challenges, but it's real, it's honest, and it's ours. Looking back, I see now that the end of my marriage was not just an ending but a beginning. It was the catalyst for a journey of self-discovery, of healing, and eventually, of finding a new kind of happiness. The scars of my past will always be a part of me, but they no longer define me. Instead, they are reminders of my capacity for growth, for forgiveness, and for love in all its forms. And so, I move forward, not with a heart unscarred, but with one that is open, open to the possibilities of love, of joy, and of a future that is yet to be written. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.